Andy, I'm sending some.
Andrew Ryan. This is Mike Stumo. This is Nadja's husband. Andrew knew Nadja in California 40 years ago.
Yeah, with all the family members, those who could tell the story for the first time. It sucks to read these people, they're so dumb. Some feel like they're so dumb.
Yeah, it's a very good building. It's just smaller than the prior to the quarter.
Nice to see you too. I'm not sure if we see you here today or not. Yeah, well, I was spared the hurricane, left everything alone, and so I just worked as usual. So anyway.
Yes. Everyone with a picture, please come here. Stay away from the steps, please. Thank you. Get closer here. Stay away from the steps.
Like me too. I have two husbands.
Hey, if you don't want to be in a shot, then don't be in the. Then you don't have to be in the media.
Who's holding?
Micah.
Could anyone hold? Thank you.
Does anybody have Micah? Who's got Micah's picture? Anybody have Micah's picture?
Could anyone hold one more?
Right here. Okay, I'm so sorry. Because we don't organize this. We don't organize planes. Michael, go ahead if you want to explain with the
So this is the 6-month anniversary of the Boeing 737 MAX 8 crash just outside of Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. It happened on March 10th. All of us here, we have several families, victims' families from around the world. Paul and I, of course, are here. And this day is to remember those we lost. To remember Samia, my daughter, remember Paul's family. That's the primary purpose of this day. But we as families are gathered and we're in communication increasingly together for several reasons. Number one, we heal better by talking to each other. Number two, we want to prevent a third crash. No one stood up and did anything after the first crash. Instead, the FAA knew about the software and MCAS system and allowed Boeing at least 10 months to fix it, and our family members died 5 months later because of that issue. And we're unhappy that the people who made that decision are still making decisions. And lastly, we're communicating as families because we're concerned about the crash site itself. My son Adnan was at the crash site in July and found remains, a jawbone laying out at the crash site, and we learned this morning that Ethiopia is not doing another sweep of the crash site for remains. It's an open graveyard, and we call on the Ethiopian government to do another sweep to get the body parts of those we've lost swept up, treated with dignity for a proper burial or return to their families. You want to say something?
Sure. Well, while all your lives moved on for the last 6 months, our lives, the lives of the families of the victims, my life has not moved an inch. you've gone on with your lives, with your daily activities. I'm not able to go on with my life. I don't know how to live this life anymore. As we remember our family members, as I remember my wife, Carol, my son Ryan, my two daughters, Kelly and Ruby, and my mom-in-law Anne today, I want to remind you all that you could be in this position, that it's not only about these family members, these members of the families of the victims. This could be you. That this happened to me because of the negligence and because of the failure in processes, the weaknesses in internal validation processes within Boeing and within the FAA. That a plane that should not be flying, that should not have flown, was allowed to fly, was certified, a plane that was designed to fail because, the plane has design flaws, and we all know that. And a software that was prone to fail was installed in order to correct the flaws in designs. They allowed the plane to fly, and eventually it killed, our family members. So may I always remind the public, may I always remind the pilots that this is not just about Paul Njoroge. This is about the world. Any person out there who can talk about the weaknesses within Boeing and the FAA should come out and talk about it. It's not just about us.
So we just met with Secretary of Transportation Elaine Chao for 2 hours as family members. We went through our experience the day of the crash, and how our lives have changed, and how it's a different life, how we can't remember things, how we have grief, how all the things we wanted to do with our loved ones will not happen. We also demanded that the plane be fully recertified as a new plane. This is not the same plane that was certified 50 years ago during the Vietnam War. All the new systems that have been added on and 10 amended type certifications need to be examined to see how they relate to each other. And we also have information that some legacy systems were not upgraded beyond MCAS to modern safety standards. And that's from a 2007 interior dissenting opinion from FAA technical staff that documents it. We also demanded that if and when this plane is ungrounded, if it is proven to be something, if it is not inherently unstable, which remains to be seen, and it is ungrounded, pilots need simulator training. We don't need to cut costs on pilots and their training, so that Captain Sully Sullenberger made very clear that it was a very surprising and heavy workload situation that those pilots found themselves in as he went through the simulator. And we also demanded that those who made the decisions that killed our family members should not be making decisions now. There is several task forces and studies happening. We were assured they were going to leave no stone unturned, and we asked that the plane not be considered from ungrounding until all those stones are unturned, all the investigations are in. So the criminal investigation into whether Boeing engaged in fraud to certify the plane, for which some of their employees are taking the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination to prevent the turnover of documents. All this has to be known before the plane is ungrounded, if and when. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Brianna Grishula from Politico. Is this the first time that family members have met with Elaine Chao?
This is the first time. We did ask to meet with FAA Administrator Dixon too today. We were refused, and we asked for Elaine Chao.
Did they give a reason for why he wouldn't meet?
We have heard that he's busy and he'll meet with family members individually over the next 6 months. Of course, all the family members from across the country and the world, it's 35 different countries, are not here then. So we were unhappy with that response.
Had you tried to meet with Secretary Chow before this?
No.
Do you feel like she was receptive to what you were asking, or did you leave with the sense that you got more out of this than just a courtesy meeting with the secretary?
Yes, I think Secretary Chow was honestly wanting to get to safety, honestly wanting a full review. The commissions that she had appointed from the various federal agencies and the Joint Authorities Task Force seemed to be doing some good work. What remains to be seen, she came in office February 1st of 2017. The MAX 8 was certified February 12th, so Secretary Chow doesn't have a reason to defend something that her tenure did. So we're hopeful. Time will tell.
She reiterated that there is no timelines in the process of ungrounding the 737 MAX, and we feel that she is committed to making sure that a full investigation is done before the plane is ungrounded.
So you feel like you got a sense from her, at least in her eyes, what accountability looks like?
We let her know in very stark terms that when my wife Nadia and my son Tor went and met with FAA Safety Director Ali Bahrami and asked him the question, in the context, you have 20/20 hindsight now. What do you think FAA could have done better? He said nothing. We did everything right. There's nothing we could have done better. Secretary Chow was clear that every organization can always be improved. There can always be improvement, and she's dedicated to improvement. So for now, we'll take her at her word.
Was there anyone else in the meeting besides Secretary Chow?
She had her top staff in the meeting.
Do you have a message for Boeing?
Anyone who made the decisions to put this to self-certify or to get this plane through to the certification process, that now we know were bad decisions, and the CEO and the board who has allowed Boeing and turned Boeing into a company that extracts wealth from its legacy products rather than builds 21st and 22nd century planes. Those that decided to spend 40% of the profits in the last 5 years to increase shareholder dividends, 104% of the profits to increase stock buybacks, and skimp on safety, skimp on redundancy. The people who made those decisions, if you are a corporate organization dedicated to incremental improvement and to beating Airbus and the Chinese and Brazilian competitors, those people should not be making decisions now, at the top and at the certification safety side.
Would you still like to meet with Administrator Dixon? Are you still seeking that? Did the Secretary say anything about his response to your request?
We will ask for a meeting with Dixon a little later on, I'm sure. We have a short timeline. The families are only in town for a couple days. This was a hastily put together event where we are not fully ourselves. We're not fully thinking, and we realize this is the 6-month anniversary. And some are flying from a long distance and flying back out. We're not people who can take long vacations in Washington, so to be continued.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Their son, David. Their son, David. They came from Toronto, Canada. They came with Paul Giroge. They lost their daughter. They lost their daughter, Danielle, 24 years old.
Danielle was a tireless activist. She went to school at Dalhousie, and she worked hard there as in the marine biology discipline, and she was looking after. Her main concern was right whales, protecting the right whales, and working with various professors. She did various reports, and she really marine conservation and environmental conservation was her big thing. But she also spent a lot of time with indigenous societies as well, and making sure that their rights were protected. She'd worked with an environmental ecology action center, assisted with them in basically putting down an environmental assessment that was not correct, and got a whole bunch of volunteers to basically establish that. She's been working with sustainable food matters, and she's been all across Canada from the 3 coasts, just for looking out after everybody's interest, especially environmental perspective and Indigenous rights. So she's been, she's put herself last. Everything else is first and foremost. She was always trying to do things with the little bit of time that she had on this planet. And as you can see right now, since the last 6 months, there's been a lot of damage to the environment and a lot of lack of concern from many different countries and groups and peoples, and it's really sad. It's just almost indicative of, the problems that we're facing. That crash, ever since that, it's just been downhill from there. Danielle has meant a lot to us. She's been our Miss Incredible because she's been doing so much. She's our missing piece here, and a big chunk of us died with her on that crash on March 10th, 6 months ago. And it's just, we're just trying to function as a unit right now. It's very difficult, but a big part of our lives has been taken away, and I think even part of the, the whole environmental group, the Action Center, and the activist part has been taken away too. It's just we're still coping with it, as you can see. It's very heartbreaking.
Danielle is our rock. She's only 24 years old, and she was one of the UN delegate who's going to go to Nairobi, Kenya. She's there to save the world, yet the world failed her because of people's greed, of the corporate's greed. We got robbed. It is not fair for us not to have answer and not to receive their bodies or their remains. It is 6 months, yes it is. But to us, it's still March the 10th. My daughter was so excited on that day that she is boarding from Toronto and get into Addis. And usually that will be my last message to her and her last message to me, that she landed safely in Ethiopia. Usually when that happened, after we text, we call, we hang up and we call to say I love you. But I don't have that chance anymore because I didn't call thinking that I will be delaying her. And I miss the messages, the talk. I got robbed. We all got robbed because this is preventable accident. It is not an accident. We should have ground the plane after the first crash. Instead, knowing it has a flaws, yet they let it fly and took away one of the most important person in our lives. Today, Danielle's supposed to be at school to continue teaching because to her, planting seeds to young kids who are so unprivileged is one of the biggest mission. She works so hard and volunteers so hard to save and give to the young generation, yet it cost her life because of the greed of the corporation. And I'm wondering, America, where is the justice for us? How do we go with our lives not knowing where they are? The 6 minutes on the plane, I am having nightmare every single day thinking of that 6 minutes, one of the darkest moments. Did she call for me? Did she know that she's dying? And I know once you buckle your seats on that plane and knowing Boeing, the FAA, the big corporation know it was not safe. Today and all the following days, because our life will never back to normal. This is our normal life. We want justice. We want answer. We want a safety. We don't want the plane to to be on the air because it could be you, it could be your loved ones, it could be your daughter like mine. We should be the voice because if the first crash have a voice, the second crash will not happen. I will be able to hug and talk, but we can't. So I really ask help from every single one of here to help us to have that voice. That will mean a lot to me and to all of the 157 people that died that day. To me, my days will always be March the 10th. It will never move more than March the 10th because I don't have the body to have an answer. I will never have that. And if I could, I will give everything I have to have her back. How I wish I called her so that she missed the plane. And I will continue to live on that regrets until the day I die. And I will not stop until I have the answer. Even if it's only me, I will walk whatever walk I have to walk to hold someone responsible. It is not fair that so many lives died, yet no one lost their job. That's not right. Someone has to be held responsible. Money could not bring the lives of the people that died and went through horrific 6 minutes of their lives. That is murder. That is so inhuman to make our loved ones be the guinea pig in the air and think that it is safe to fly when it is not.
We're here today to honor not only my daughter, Angela Rayhorn, but all the other victims of this crash. We've heard lots already about the pain and suffering and how we believe that Boeing needs to be accountable and that the plane should not be in the air until everybody is satisfied it's safe. Just over 6 months ago, we made our first trip to Ethiopia to visit the crash site, to try to gain a bit of peace. And during that time, we were also invited to the Canadian Embassy, where there was a memorial. We were fortunate to be there at that time, and today virtually marks that 6-month period. We traveled from just outside of Toronto, Canada, to honor our beautiful daughter, Angela Rayhorn. It's hard to see, but 7 years ago, I gave this small medallion to my daughter. She has one, I have one. It says, "Always with you." I'm fortunate that this is the half that I will always have in memory of my daughter. Thank you.
Just a little bit about Angela. She and Danielle happened to graduate from the same class at Dalhousie in Halifax. She was a humanitarian. She was going back to Kenya. She was excited. She hadn't been there since she was on a mission trip in high school. And she was a conservationist. Her last job was with the Canadian Conservation Corps and the Canadian Wildlife Federation. And she loved this planet, and she loved people. And what we've learned in the course of this 6 months with many of these families that we've met is these people who died were kind, human people that wanted the best of this world and the best for their families, and that they will be truly missed. A friend of Angela's gave us what she called an Angela Rayhorn quote, that the best things in life are the people that you love, the places you've seen, and the memories you've made along the way. And that sums up the kind of people that had their lives taken. And this is a sad day for all of us. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Beza Alamu. I'm from Ethiopia and I lost this king right here. His name is Mulusau Alamu. He is a king for me, my mom and my sisters, and for my families. My brother was very honest, kind, loving and caring and very intelligent person. He was going for business trip to Kenya for the company he works called Catholic Relief Services. I don't know from where to start and where to end. When always I think how, when and where I lost my brother. This is incredibly very big sad that we don't expect such a big fault from big world figure company like Boeing, and it's very hard that FAA let Boeing certifies the aircraft instead of the FAA certifies Boeing's aircraft. And we're here today to make voice and to tell the world that please stand with us and be voices for those like us who are voiceless right now. We want the aviation industry to be safe. We want the FAA and other certifying agencies to recertify all the aircrafts, not only 737 MAX -800 or -900. We want all the aircrafts to be recertified. Thank you very much.
I want to speak to the U.S. Department of Justice. I want them to take a moment and think about the suffering, the pain, the sorrow, and the grief of myself and the families of the other victims. And I want them to think about themselves. I want them to think about their families. I want them to think about their husbands, about their wives, about their children. I want them to take a moment and think about their lives. I want them to think about the emptiness in my life today. Because I trusted the FAA and I trusted Boeing. When I booked the flights for my wife and my children and my mom-in-law, I trusted that all the procedures, all the internal validation processes within Boeing and the FAA are in order. And that's what you all believe. When you're flying, when you book a flight, you do believe that you're gonna get to your destination safely. There wasn't a moment that I imagined that I would be here today. There wasn't a moment that I imagined that my life would be turned upside down. that I would be wondering about the future, because all my future is gone. The future, my future, was my wife and my children. I lived for them. I'm still living for my wife and my children by coming out here and pleading to the U.S. Department of Justice that you gotta do a very thorough fact-finding process. And once that is completed, there is no reason as to why Dennis Muhlenberg, the CEO of Boeing, and his executive team, and any other person would be found to have neglected or committed errors in the certification, in the design, in the certification of the 737 MAX plane. I would want to see them in prison, because that's where they belong. They caused the deaths of 346 people. Thank you.
My name is Luca. I am the brother of Paolo Dieci. He is from Rome, Italy, and he perished in this flight. Paolo worked all of his life in the international cooperation. He was in his prime, he's 58 years old, not even 50, barely 58 years old, and was returning to Ethiopia, where he worked for the last 30, 40 years of his life. He's my brother. We live together. We share the same room for 25 years, and I miss him a lot. Thank you.
Do you want to introduce yourself here? You have to talk into the microphone. Go ahead, both of you.
Hello, we're here to honor these amazing people that we lost. And here I have Gladys, my cousin. I'm Zipporah, and this is her husband, Derek. And there is no words enough to describe the gap that Derek's absence is. I mean, Derek was a people person, and even that's an understatement. He was a family man. He just wanted the best in life for everybody. He's one of the most optimistic people you would have ever met. And even as we think about Derek and his absence and think about his family, his wife Gladys, it's often really hard to even relate sometimes to them. There's no words to even capture the depth of the sadness that has been left behind. And Derek's not the only person indeed that has left us. want to honor all these people that departed prematurely and appeal to the FAA to reconsider their policies and procedures of safety, the safety of our airplanes. Thank you.
We have a permit here until 1 o'clock, which is in about 10 minutes. So, I think we're just gonna stand there if everyone wants to for another few more minutes, about 5 or 10 minutes. In the meantime, if you need water, I have water. So just raise your hand or whatever you want. I can get it for you. I don't want anybody to get too hot. See Georgetown Law School. His wife and his parents and his brothers and his 1-year-old baby couldn't be here today. But I just wanted to make sure that they knew that he was represented today, and he's from right here. Georgetown Law School. He would have just graduated. Remembering you, Cedric, and your whole family.
Support for aviation safety. Really, you are doing a service for all passengers, all future passengers, because without you highlighting this, these deaths would just disappear and people would forget that these people ever flew, ever existed, that the plane ever crashed. But by highlighting this, you are helping to make sure that the FAA and the DOT make planes safe for passengers. If you're an innocent person and you buy a ticket, you do not expect a certified plane to fall out of the sky. And that's what happened here twice. So the Indonesian crash, first, that plane fell out of the sky, and without pausing and thinking we need to ground the planes and fix it, they just allowed the plane to continue flying. And then our 157 loved ones that you can see here, they died. And now we want no third crash. And you guys are making that possible by highlighting this, by coming here today, by standing with these beautiful human beings, by holding their pictures for their families who cannot be here. There are 11 families here, but there are 157 families. And so you guys are doing a very kind thing. And we thank you for the bottom of our hearts. And we also thank you for future passengers. And just God bless you forever, because you really are helping. You're really helping people to focus their thoughts and their energies on this problem. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here with us.
Project. Protect your voice.
I'm supposed to project my voice. Thank you for all being here with us. I don't know what to say that has not already been said, but you help us heal. Thank you.
We're gonna try to get one last